right, we are live on Facebook for Training Tuesdays. It is Tuesday, the 4th of August, 2020, and I am here, as always, with my partner in crime, as it were, Chris Blackburn. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for asking. I don't know about a partner in crime, but good evening to everybody. Welcome to this month's edition of Training Tuesday.
And for those of you who are watching who maybe don't know who we are, just a quick introduction. So my name is Rob Hawkes. I'm the head of coaching and performance here at ISR Training. What about yourself, Chris?
So my role here is the head of partnerships here at ISR. So we can see a few people dropping in. So hey, Jared, Sam, Dan, Frankie, Mandy, good to see you all popping in.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's get cracking. What are we covering today?
So today what we're going to be covering is a practical way on how to make the winning first impression, whether it's over the phone, face-to-face, online, however you're interacting with people, on how to make that winning first impression.
Absolutely. And for those who maybe aren't aware of who we are and what we do, our mantra here at ISR is SWISH, selling with integrity and selling honestly. So our mission is to change the perception of sales. It's to really make sure that sales isn't considered a dirty word. It's an honorable profession that is an art form that people can learn. So if this is the first time that you've been interacting with us, be sure to like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're plenty of content out there to be able to help people, especially in this tricky time. And we catch up once a month on this Training Tuesday, just to sort of chew the fun a little bit around sales, offer a bit of value to clients and potentially people who don't know who we are, and with some familiar faces inside of our training. But I'd quite like to know, and Chris, I don't know about yourself, but where everybody is in Australia. So maybe in the comments section, if you guys just want to put, where are you watching us from? Not necessarily, the bathroom or the kitchen, but what part of the world are you viewing us in? So it'd be nice to get a few comments, and let us know where you're watching. And obviously, if you're in Melbourne and or the state of Victoria, obviously we're hoping that things ease up a little bit, because it's a little bit of a testing time for you guys, I imagine.
Absolutely. So as normal, if everybody can get a pen and paper at the ready, get some water, and obviously we've only got half an hour, so we'll get into as much as we possibly can today. We've got people on the northern beaches in beautiful Sydney, Sam there as well. Another Sydney as well, Melbourne. Hope you're well, Jade. Obviously in there we've got Mackay. So people Ryan's in the next office as well, so he's floating around today.
Couple in Western Australia as well. Hey, Dave, and there are a few others. So really great to have you all along. So let's get into it. If you've got a pen and a bit of paper ready, we're going to keep this as interactive as possible, give you a few bits and pieces. So obviously, first impressions are a key element to the SWISH method of building value. What are the three areas, Chris, that we are looking to build value in?
I reckon we'll give this 60 seconds and let's see who in the chat that may have been following us for a while. What's the three things that anybody buys when they purchase? So what's the three areas that we need to lend more value? And obviously with, making a good first impression is particularly important when it comes to meeting customers, pitching to potential new clients, or during interviews as well. So these are real the key points where people will meet you and begin to then form an impression of maybe you, your services, what you're offering, something like that. So you're ever, we always say forever building on or repairing your first impression. And we know in person, I'm not too sure the stats were on a Zoom call, but 1.5 seconds face-to-face and less than 5 seconds over the phone. Obviously through tone and body language that I'm sure we might not have time to go in there, but
Asher was the winner, by the way.
Dan Oakley, Naveen, you may have done the 10 hours with Brian last week on the live 10-hour event, but you're absolutely right. MCP. Jared's put that in the chat as well. So myself, company, and product. So making a winning first impression, you've got to be able to sell yourself, right?
Yeah, and I think that it comes down to any interaction. We actually say here at ISR that you are forever building on or repairing your first impression. We know that it takes around 1.5 couple of seconds to have that instantaneously. you know, it's really important that we do make a good first impression. And I think that people are always watching. I posted earlier on LinkedIn around this, and if you want to follow us on LinkedIn, and we're always putting content out there, sometimes just because people haven't liked or commented or shared what we've said, they're not actually watching. This might be the very first time that people have come into interaction with us. So there's lots of things that people are going to be looking at. One of the most obvious ones is, well, why do we have all of the things in the background behind you? So Chris, do you want to elaborate? The first impression digitally, somebody might see you doing a video on Training Tuesdays in the boardroom, and what's the first impression that they would see behind you?
Yeah, with the organizations, the different industries and the type of businesses that we partner and train as well, it naturally lends credibility. So from a first impression, people are going to be looking at surroundings. So that's one of the areas as we're going through this, it's impossible to sort of tailor it to everybody naturally in the session today, but really have a be thinking about your personal brand, or maybe for people taking notes, your COVs, your contents of value. Start thinking about how you can make a winning first impression digitally as well.
Yeah, and that, yeah, Mandy, you're right. People are always watching. That sounds a bit sinister, but yeah, they are. And I think that it's about making sure that we are being really mindful of, you never know who you could run into or who you could speak to. I was reminded of a story. Someone asked me around our seminars, and I was talking about this. So I used an example that our very first one that we did in Broadbeach, at the Sofitel, it was a low attendance. I think there was about 15 people in there, maybe even less. But I remember I was ushering people in.
Staff.
Yeah, we outnumbered them 3-1. And yeah, I was ushering people in, and I was hanging around for any late stragglers, and I was having a conversation with the guy that was he was moving the trolleys to put you know, whatever it is, the luggage on. And I was having a chat with him, just to have a conversation with him. And after about half an hour, he actually stopped me and said, "Can I just say something?" I said, "What?" And he said, "You're one of the first people when I'm doing this particular job that to actually have a chat with me." And I said, "Oh, why?" And he said, "Well, I actually own this hotel. And to relate to my staff, I spend half a day in the different departments to make sure that I know exactly what they're doing. And you came up to me and you started having a chat. And I remember he gave me his business card. And I just thought, like, wow, like that was literally an embodiment of, I looked him in the eye. I had a brief chat with him. I asked him what he was doing. I actually asked, "Do you get tipped in this?" He said, "Oh, I don't really need tips. I own the place." And it was like, and it wasn't an egotistical way of him saying it. It was just a funny conversation. I think you never know when making that first impression to somebody, you know, where it could lead. And I'm not suggesting that you should be making impressions with people to get something from it, but I think you should be mindful that if you're portraying that you've had a rough day, or you're tired or lethargic, or, and someone overhears that, you don't know what that person in line at the store or wherever that could lead to. So I think it's really important that we're mindful of what is out there, who is out there, and for some of us who can meet face to face and so on and so forth, or whatever else. So I think it's important to be just be aware of it. Don't just assume that maybe because people aren't speaking to you or commenting that they're not taking notice of what you're doing. If that makes sense, Chris.
Absolutely, yeah. Even, I mean, that's a powerful story. It shows you never know who you're speaking to, right? And everybody's just as important. It's the same as if you go into a big corporation and stuff like that. You don't know who is on reception, who's the gate. You just don't know who they are. So it's about connecting with them, forgetting any sort of intent or any particular reason, but actually connecting with that human. So as more people are sort of dropping in, maybe in the chat section as well, we're not here with all the answers. Maybe share some ideas on how you make a winning first impression.
Or what environments as well, what environments you're in.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking a lot about networking, we've been talking about phone impressions. So yeah, feel free to drop in there. What are some tools then, Chris, that while people are doing that, what are things that you've spoken about COVs, what other things can people equip themselves with that they can improve that for first impressions? What can somebody do? I'm a salesperson, I'm a business owner, I'm in customer service, I'm in wherever. What could I do that could equip me or give me something that can help me improve that?
Yeah, I think with it being in any situation, I think one of the big things that I've learned through my personal development with ISR for 18 months and obviously been with the business just over 2 years now is just having an effective elevator pitch. Now, I know a lot of times we speak about that, 15 to 60 seconds to make a winning first impression. For me, in a sales perspective, an elevator pitch is just something I need to be able to communicate very effectively within maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes of a conversation and ensure that it's very elegant the way that that's delivered. So we'll run through that and give people an assistance around that. But having that very effective, I feel like in any situation, you can do that in networking, you can do that when you're over the phone, when you're face to face. Like for myself, I'm part of a networking group. Now that everything's online, we do things in two ways. We either retract and think of worst case situations, or we start thinking of what opportunities are available. And over the last 3 weeks, I've been to New York. I sat in front of a chapter or a group of 88 businesses in the middle of Manhattan. I've been to Perth. I've been to Cairns. Where else? I've been everywhere. Brisbane, Gold Coast.
But with that, right, and we've been talking about video conferencing and networking, and something that I've noticed is when people are like, so say for example, you are being given the opportunity to, you'll have your video on, but the sound off, so people could be watching, right? They could be watching you, what you're doing. If you got your, I'm not saying you did this, but if you got your finger up your nose, or like you're on your phone, but also in preparation for it. If they say, okay, Chris, come and introduce yourself. In clattering around, like, am I on mute? That first impression that you make there, and I'm not saying again that you do this. I've seen people do that. It actually makes me think that you can't do your job. Like if somebody's not able to utilize Zoom, it may have no reflection on a plumber or a telco or a I don't know, like a doctor or anyone. But if you can't work it, I'm already like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's something that, again, I'm not suggesting that that's what you were doing, but I've seen a lot of other groups of people that sometimes can't manage that, and it has a subconscious or unconscious impression that because you can't understand to click the button where it says mute or unmute, you might not be very good at what you do, and it's unfortunate, but that's how the mind works. And I try to look past that, but not everybody does.
Yeah, I'd probably say over the last 4 weeks of all the cities and all the businesses, say there's, I don't know, 400 businesses that I've been in front of, I've probably had about 5 minutes to communicate who I am, what we do, how we help people, why we do it, and share a personal story. Like, I've only had 60 seconds each time to be able to do that. So to be effectively in order to do that, I feel like there's a process behind it. And I feel like it's just really powerful when somebody can actually tell you what they do.
Yeah. Conversely to that, what not to do, we have a saying around knowing when to take or give advice, toga, and it's important to know what things that you potentially shouldn't do. Mike's just said there, be human, be real, and don't pretend. Like, I feel like sometimes people can dive straight into too fast around, like, it's all me, and this is who I am, and this is what I can do. And sometimes in that particular environment that we've been referencing, BNI, for example, or any sort of group networking event, the humility attached to, hey, this is me, this is what we do, and yeah, I'm really fortunate to be here, rather than, hey guys, I'm going to absolutely blow you away. We do this, and blah, 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 blah. Half the time people are sat there going, who's this? Yeah. Because, you've got to know and understand who you're dealing with. That may work in other environments. So I think that's also important of what you are doing to also what you're not doing, and making sure that you know your place in the environment. Yes, you've got to have some level of control or charisma or whatever to you might be an introvert, and that's okay. And I think that, it's important to not just go in there and try and ruffle some feathers and say how great and amazing you are, because I personally don't think that that's very helpful.
Goes back to selling your favorite feature, right? That's not what we're here to do. Naveen put in the comment as well, look straight into their eyes and hold the stare. Question I've got off that, how long do you hold the stare for?
All right. I'd imagine, yeah, eye contact is important. Is there anyone that out there struggles with that? Is there anyone that's watching today that does struggle with having that, and they're a bit nervous when they meet new people? I've got a couple of clients that I coach that have come on board for that very reason, that they're very shy and that they actually have low confidence. Is there anyone that's watching today that feels a little bit like that? Perhaps maybe share this with them. Maybe don't tag them in this video and go, oh yeah, but maybe share it with them and say, hey, because I think that if you're prepared with some, go back through and watch some of our other content around building rapport, or like you say, being able to just really be quite humble and have a bit of humility and a bit of subtle grace around that you operate yourself in. Be prepared with a structure or a process to do that. I think that could really help some people. So I'm just interested, are there any people that that are doing that? We've got Dave saying, Dave hates being on the phone. Seek, I'm hoping I'm pronounced that correctly. Yes, as the customer is trying to compare you against the competition and look for your weaknesses. That's interesting. So feeling like, people are comparing you against the competition. What would you not do, Chris, if you feel in that? If you feel like you're being compared to the competition, what should you avoid doing?
Really comparing to the competition. I think getting away from that and using what we call art's been able to acknowledge, respond, and transition away from it. I feel like he's not comparing, it's just making sure you're creating new ideas and not comparing to other people. And maybe if we unpack the elevator pitch, why don't we do that really quick, Rob? Let's run through an effective 5-step process that hopefully it helps Dave and people like that on the phone as well, be able to, we'll run into it. The first one, so if everybody with a pen and paper, guys that have been through this before, we said this in our Monday session, not the one just gone, but every Monday we run a live session from 8 till 8:30. So I actually ran through this, not this week, but the previous week, is a 5-step process on how to make the winning first impression. So if you've already got this and you've been in our training for a while, again, look at how to reform this. Like the amount of times that I've changed the elevator pitch to the sort of people that I'm around is very effective. So have a think of an elevator pitch on where and how you can potentially use that as well. We keep this very easy to follow with our acronym is PITCH. So just as we write that down, P for Papa, I for India, T for Tango, C for Charlie, H for Hotel. PITCH. What's the P, Rob?
Promote clarity. So who are you? Essentially, bit of tonality there. Who are you?
That's where we'll be looking to drop your name and the job title.
What if you don't have a job title?
That's a great question. What would you do in that situation?
Excuse me. So yeah, just who I am, and maybe obviously if it was what we're doing, I'd be saying, yeah. So I'm Rob, the head of performance and coaching here at ISR. If I'm out of work, I would just say I'm Rob, previously of, or this is where I've been. So just something a little bit about you, just hey, I'm Rob and I'm currently looking for work, or hey.
Could you do that with, if you are looking for work, drop the industry in there? Would you recommend?
Where I'd work? Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, like I previously worked in these types of industries. Yeah, I guess it depends on the situation that you're in when you're using this.
Yeah.
Talk about having that barbecue version of it. If you're at a at a friend's house or something like that. I wouldn't introduce myself always as, hey, I'm Rob Hawkes, the head of performance and coaching. I'd say, hey, my name's Rob. But I think it's important. Again, people might be really low on confidence and just stutter and not know how to do it. So I think just by simply saying who you are, I think is a very simple
way to promote clarity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Keep going. Go for it.
Yeah, so we've got identify who you help. So identify who you help. With this, again, we'd be looking at for a maximum of 3 areas. So for us, we'd help business owners, entrepreneurs, and sales professionals. So having to think of who you help in there as well.
We always talk about the humility and humble part of that. So we mentioned that I'm fortunate too. You know, I'm pretty fortunate that I get to work with, or I work with those individuals. So you know, I get to work with sales professionals. You know, I work with entrepreneurs, or you know, I work with business owners. And then that's where you can break that up and then ask the person, well, what about you? What do you do? So, who do you help? So you don't have to use each step in one go. You can break it up, and but just having that, who are the people that you actually help? There's one of the things around this is that it's very frustrating when you ask somebody what do they do, and they end their conversation or they stop talking, and you still don't know. Well, I haven't got a clue what this bloke does. Or like, you know, or anything like that. So we've got Mike there. Yep, Mike Mike in sales. I'd like your job title in there as well, Mike, if you're going for there. You know, I'm head of sales or head of partnerships, and I'm pretty fortunate to work with. But so that fortunate element provides the humility inside of it. We want to appear to be, and obviously genuinely be, humble in the level in which we operate.
Yeah, and as Rob said, it's not about following the order of this process, nor is it, for me, following it in a particular time when you're in a communication. Like I utilize the elevator pitch, as you will, when I've made a winning first impression, hopefully, framed a conversation as well, asked a couple of big picture questions to get an idea of what business I'm speaking to, what industry, what they'd be potentially looking for. And I'd say, you know, firstly, thank you for sharing. If you don't mind me taking a really quick couple of steps back, I'd love to just reintroduce myself again. So my name's Chris Blackburn. I'm the head of partnerships here for ISR Training. As a company, we're very fortunate to work with all different sizes and businesses and industries as well. Entrepreneurs, new startup companies, and also business owners, teams and their staff. Really help them better communicate the value of what they do. The main areas that we help with, and this is the next part, is tell them the problems that you solve. So the main areas we help with is helping companies increase their lead conversion, increase their average transaction value, and reduce down their sales cycle.
I think what's important with that as well is ensuring that you've been aware of your surroundings and who you're talking to. One of the things that I learned from or have been very mindful of, and I actually posted today, is listening. Cherie Leviton, one of our inspirations, and somebody who we had Ryan had a great conversation with her on the podcast. If you guys are interested in the podcast, make sure you jump on and subscribe to the Swish Show. Lots more guests coming on that, and being able to listen to people around you. Like I feel like when you walk away from an interaction and people go, God, you know what? He was such a nice guy. If you're talking the entire time, very rarely will they walk away with that. I know Ryan's writing a book at the moment. I'm not going to give away the title, but leaving people with that impression of like, oh, geez, like what a good bloke. And that, what do they say about you when you're not there? And I think listening to your surroundings and who you're with, and understanding like, do I have a rough idea of who I'm talking about? Because you may solve multiple problems with your service or your product. And yes, you also want to generalize, but you also, can you customize? So if you know that you're, for example, in a room full of individuals who may be predominantly trades individuals, then the problem that we solve may be more around helping with quoting, helping with the ability to be able to get people paid faster, how to deal with that objection around, yep, look, I'm just looking around, I'm just getting some quotes, I'll get back to you. So you can almost customize the problem that you solve based on what you've heard around them.
100%. That's where the order comes in, right? You know, if you're having that communication, you've asked a few questions and you can sort of get an idea of who they are and what they're looking for. It's, you know, sort of tailoring into that as well, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, and I think that the understanding around, well, yeah, I think there's the order, like you say, it's important, but I think, yeah, you don't need to be so structured with it if you feel like it's not relevant at that point.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Next up, we've got 6 minutes, so I want to make sure we at least cover all five.
Yeah. Awesome. So we've got C. What's that one, Rob?
C. So I am very clear around why do we do this. Mm-hmm. So I want to clarify why. Mm-hmm. Why do you do what you do? Mm-hmm. What's the book Simon Sinek Start With Why? It's an incredibly important aspect around your reason for doing it. So why are you here? Why do you do what you do? So ours would be that we were frustrated with the regurgitated 80s high-pressured sales tactics that are employed across the globe, and we're looking to change that perception that sales can be an elegant and a very consultative way, and make both consumer and consultant feel very comfortable. Mm-hmm. So that's why we do it. So can you clearly communicate your why? And it brings in the emotion, which, as we know, people like buy on emotion. So, what's that emotional connection? Why do you do what you do? Why do you love the industry that you're in? Why do you love, perhaps there's a little bit of an interaction. Chuck in the chat, guys. Why do you enjoy what you do? Jared has just said his here. He was frustrated with being in business and people were. He was being misled by people in the marketing industry. So that's a real personal element to it, which I love. That's great.
Yeah, and would you go for, when you're clarifying the why, would you clarify the why of the business, or again, does it depend on the situation where you may bring your own emotion and your own journey? Where would you deliver that?
I think it depends on if the question asked is why do you do what you do, I would clarify and ask, what do you mean, myself or the business?
Yeah.
Never make an assumption. If they say, no, you personally, then I would then go into my story. If someone said, no, the business, like what Swish? Why do you guys do Swish? Mm-hmm. What is it about the integrity and honesty model that you guys are so passionate around in? Why is that? And then I would go into the company story, because I feel that would be more relevant to what they're after.
So just asking that effective question before you deliver something and saying, do you mean for me personally or for the business? No, for you, Rob. Why do you work for ISR Training? Yeah. Well, the reason I do it is because of X, Y, and Z,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the last one, Chris, and then we'll wrap up the session. It's I forgot how fast these go. So, Chris, what's the H?
The H, or the H, is for hook. So the hook is essentially the best part. So the best part about working with you or the organization or whatever you're talking to that customer about. So the hook is the best part, and that's to sign off. The big thing at the end of the hook is to finish with a question. So for an example, the 6,000 companies we've been very fortunate to train show an average increased revenue of 41% in 90 days. But more importantly, what is it you do?
Yeah.
And really just drop that in there to then sort of give the ball back to the customer. As Rob said, that 70-30 ratio, not on the side where you're talking 70%, but you're actually listening 70% of the time, that's going to change the game.
Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, a little bit of an insight into why they would benefit from potentially using you. We've had some really great comments around why do people do what they do. Daniel loves his job. He's been able to use his 15 years experience to help families. He loves what he does. And I think that passion and enthusiasm comes across. I saw, there's always that meme around, for all the people that you may lose of being too enthusiastic will outweigh the people by not being enthusiastic enough. So I think that, yes, there are times where you may appear to be over enthusiastic, but I would much rather deal with someone who's enthusiastic and who loves what they do. So I think being able to, and Bianca saying there, she loves meeting and guiding couples through the process and being part of their day. I mean, that for me it's great. Mike has just asked a question. Sorry, Mike. The hook is hooking them with the best bit. So we might say, the best bit about our training is that you can access it 24/7, 365. You can have access to our directors in your pocket. As you go to walk into that sales meeting, you can quickly jump on and watch a 4-step process to overcome objections and go in and nail that sale. Close everybody that's closable. So it's just the best bit about it. What's the best part that they would get from using you? So hope that helps. Guys, we are time is up. Chris, it's 29 minutes has flown by so quickly. I can't believe that it's that it's 29 minutes already. There's a couple of things you wanted to announce, mate. There's some of you may have seen around a little bit of support for the state of Victoria. Some other things coming up. Chris, did you just want to give people a little bit of an insight into that before we finish?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done, obviously, we're here to try and give value and help as many people. So anybody that's based in Victoria, what I will do is, Rob, do you have the link maybe to pop that into the chat potentially as well? So just have a click onto that. We're going to give some live and free complimentary training for the next 6 weeks for any individual business, anybody in the state of Victoria as well. So if you're interested to have some training complimentary on our business, please feel free to do that and join. It'll be a pleasure to hopefully help wherever we possibly can through this as well.
Yeah, that's the 8 o'clock Swish focus sessions for the next sort of lockdown period. So if you guys are based in Victoria, then we want to help, and that might just be a little bit of motivation, getting around a group of individuals that are that may be going through the same thing. That might help, especially if you're dealing with the headspace around being locked down again. So
just quickly on that, Rob, what is the 8 a.m. just to give some context behind what that actually looks like?
So the session is done on Zoom with either myself or you, and we'll run a 30-minute bit of a motivational Monday morning. Look at your goals. What are we looking to focus on this week? Obviously getting you set right for the week. A bit of Q&A, a bit of interaction, just to get you started for the week. And that's to hold our Swish Academy. That's the program that we have, keeping those guys accountable to doing the training. But for those who are joining from Victoria, it's just an opportunity to share a bit of an insight with you guys, and hopefully give you a bit of motivation and a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, if guys, if you know of anybody inside of who's in Victoria, then please feel free to share that link that I just popped in the chat, and there you can also find that on our Instagram and LinkedIn as well. So hopefully that will help somebody.
And just the last thing, obviously we did a 10-hour day with Ryan that I can see a lot of people that was in here as well. We had over, I think, 30-40 people that stayed for the entire 10 hours as well. So what we've decided to do on the 27th and the 28th, it's a 2-day event from 9 till 5 with Ryan on Zoom, very interactive, obviously incredibly practical as well. There's over 50% off our boot camp. So if anybody's interested of 2 days of intense, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty full on, but it's going to be 2 hours, 2 days across Zoom with Ryan, with other like-minded people, and as I said, over 50% off. So you're interested, just get in touch with ISR as well.
Awesome. All right, guys, well, it's 5:32.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you everybody for watching today, and to join. Remember, next month we'll return with another installment of Training Tuesdays. For those of you in the academy, make sure you go back and you can download the audio and pop it on, and make sure you listen to the Swish show with Ryan. We've got some great guests coming up. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And if you think anybody would benefit from hearing myself and Chris chew the fat around sales, then feel free to do that as well. Chris, always a pleasure, looking forward to seeing everybody next month. So take care, everyone, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Stay safe, everyone.
See ya.